Planet Dolan.
From impersonating someone's idol to lying to an old lady about winning the lottery, the Planet Dolan crew reenact more of the best true stories from our subreddit about the weirdest prank calls we've ever made. I'm Doopy, and today I'll be your narrator. Number 10 was submitted by BabyFur07. One time, Pringle and his sister wanted to try out this online soundboard that was full of Michael Jackson voice samples, so they prank called a stranger. When the man on the other end picked up, Pringle used Michael's voice to talk about handcuffing children to a bed and feeding them milk and cookies. Instead of realizing that it was an obvious prank, the man got really upset and said,
"You are one sick puppy, Michael. How the hell could you do that?"
He started ranting and raving and didn't once question that it was Michael Jackson who was randomly calling him. Pringle had to bury his face in a pillow to keep from laughing. Number 9 was submitted by the Forest Guardian. When Dolan was in the 7th grade, he prank called Pringle from a payphone. When Pringle picked up, Dolan put on his best recorded operator voice and said,
"Hello, your friend is trying to call you. Press 1 if you'd like to talk to them, or press 2 to hear more options."
The always gullible Pringle waited a few seconds, then pressed 1. Dolan led him through a few more ridiculous operator prompts, and Pringle fell for every single one. In the end, Dolan gave himself away by bursting out laughing. He's never let Pringle live down his stupidity. Number 8 was submitted by EmmaFeist1231. When Ghost Toast was in the 7th grade, he and his friends prank called a local Chinese restaurant. When a woman answered, Ghost Toast told her he was going to come in and shit all over their tables. The woman didn't speak much English, so she had no idea what he was saying. Ghost Toast told her 3 times that he was coming to paint her restaurant brown, but she didn't understand. She kept saying, "Okay, what time you come in?" Ghost Toast and his friends laughed long and hard about this prank. By the time they were finished, they had a serious hankering for Chinese food. Number 7 was submitted by Conveniently So. This one time, Emoji and his friends were having a big night out. They were super drunk and decided that obviously it would be a great idea to prank call businesses. Emoji decided to prank call this mobile mechanic company called Lube Mobile. Unfortunately, no one answered, which made sense seeing as it was the middle of the night. So Emoji left a voicemail where he drunkenly ranted about how he needed lube and how he'd heard they were the lube experts. He imagined the workers coming in on Monday morning and having to hear such a stupid message from drunk kids. The funniest part is Emoji only remembered their phone number because their ad had such an annoyingly catchy jingle on it. So their advertising worked, just probably not the way they wanted it to. Number 6 was submitted by Agent Nightmare. One day, Hellbent was bored, so he prank called a stranger. When a sweet old lady picked up, Hellbent told her she just won the lottery. She was so excited that she started listing all the different ways the money would change her life. Hellbent told her to listen very carefully to this next part. He said that to collect her winnings, she had to call the following number. Hellbent then read out 3/4 of a made-up phone number, then hung up before she could write down the final digits. Hellbent gained a great story, while the old woman was left with nothing but disappointment and an empty bank account. Man, that's fucked up. Number 5 was submitted by BubbleButt12. One time, Pandora went to a sleepover at Ramona's house. Ramona wanted to prank call her ex-boyfriend, but she was worried he'd recognize her voice, so she dialed and handed the phone to Pandora. When the ex answered, Pandora had no idea what to say, so she randomly blurted out,
"Hello, I'm just calling to say that your Pornhub account has not been paid this month, so we'll be shutting it down."
Everyone expected him to see straight through the prank, but instead he outed himself by saying, "That's weird, I thought I paid it this month." Pandora laughed out loud, so Ramona had to quickly hang up the phone. Number 4 was submitted by Laila-Chan. Andy had a friend who was obsessed with a certain YouTuber. Andy thought this obsession was getting out of hand, so decided to mess with her a bit. First, she downloaded a really good voice changer app, then tweaked her voice so it sounded like the perfect imitation of this YouTuber. She then called her friend and said,
Hi, I heard you're a fan of the YouTube channel Planet Dolan. Just thought I'd give you a call to say thanks for watching.
Andy's friend flipped out. After chatting to her biggest hero for a few minutes, she couldn't contain her excitement and said, "Here's my address. Please come and have sex with me." Then she gave her actual, real address. It's now years later, and Andy still hasn't told her friend it was all a prank. It's too awkward for her. Her friend still thinks it was real, and she still talks about the time she almost met her favorite YouTuber. Number 3 was submitted by Strangepelican. Back in the days before caller ID, Slaptam used to pick names with addresses from the phone book to prank call. He'd call them and say he was from the local electricity company and that a nearby accident had crossed the power lines with the phone lines. He said a technician was untangling the mess and that it was critical they didn't answer their phone for the next 2 hours. If they did, the person calling them could be zapped by heavy voltage. Once the person on the other line accepted the story, Slaptam would hang up and wait. A few minutes later, he would call back to see if they'd pick up. If they didn't answer, Slaptam would just keep calling and calling until they got so annoyed by the non-stop ringing that they had to pick it up. As soon as they said hello, Slaptam would scream like he was getting painfully electrocuted and listen to the person on the other end freak out. Number 2 was submitted by Mike Ageles? Macageles, 17. When Nixium was younger, he and his friends got together to prank call a bunch of pizza places. He pretended he was throwing a party and made up totally elaborate pizza orders. Then when the person on the line asked for a delivery address, Nixium would shout, "Nowhere!" and hang up. They did this a bunch of times, and then Nixium's phone started ringing. It was the police calling. Nixium knew his parents would kill him if they found out, so he put on a really deep voice and pretended to be his father. The cop explained that there'd been prank calls coming from this number, and Nixium acted like a shocked parent. He held the phone away and pretended to yell at his son. Pretty soon he was putting on 2 voices to play 2 separate roles, the father and the son. He acted out this huge argument that ended with the father grounding his son. When it was over, Nixium got back on the line to apologize to the police officer. The police officer accepted Nixium's Oscar-worthy performance. He said it was good to see parents still disciplining their kids and dropped all charges. Number 1 was submitted by me. I never really prank called people growing up because I was really bad at holding in laughter. But I do remember a time that I accidentally called someone that I didn't mean to call. Once, I was at my grandmother's house and I meant to call my mom, but apparently I dialed the wrong number. A woman picked up who sounds similar to my mom. So I said, "Mommy, can you please come pick me up at my grandma's house?" The woman on the phone was confused, but thought I was her daughter somehow, and was like, "Honey, Grandma's here, where are you?" And I kept telling her, "Grandma's not there, Grandma's here, I'm at Grandma's house." She got really confused and she was like, "Honey, no, Grandmother is right here," and she handed the phone to an older lady. I was like, "Hello?" And she was like, "Hello?" And I was so confused and embarrassed that I just hung up and stared at the phone in confusion because I was so sure I dialed my mom's number, and I was so confused as to why she was acting so weird and who the lady on the phone was who was claiming to be my grandmother. But I bet they were just as confused as I was. Huge thanks to the folks over on our Planet Dolan subreddit for submitting their stories. We have another question for you. What's the weirdest punishment your parents ever gave you? Let us know in the Reddit page linked below, and you might be featured in a future countdown. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.